Welcome back to FoxBusiness.com Live. Chris Cotter, Tracy Burns. Jim Rogers is here.
In the house, everyone. Now, I got to tell you, Jim and I have known each other forever. We started doing Cavuto on Business together moons ago.
Yes, yes.
And everyone would put cookies aside before you came in.
I know. I used to love to come here for the cookies.
Just for
chocolate
the cookies.
chip. That's why I came. And to see you. Tracy.
He came for the
You're
cookies.
second to the cookies.
And actually,
That's
I asked today what kind of cookies we had for Jim. So I do hope that there were potential cookies for you.
I hope so, too.
Dessert. Right, yeah.
Dessert.
Well, it's good timing that you're here today with all of the talk this morning, the report coming out that China, Japan, the Arab nations, France, a couple of others, they want to get oil essentially off of the dollar denomination. They want to have a basket of currencies in terms of denominating oil. What do you make of that move? Is it realistic?
Well, I doubt that that's going to happen, and I'm sure that's some kind of rumor which was planted. But we do know that many countries are worried about the dollar. I'm worried about the dollar. The head of the World Bank, who's also American, is worried about the dollar. I mean, everybody's got to do something about the dollar, and something will be done.
What are we going to do about it? What can we do about it? What should we do about it?
Well, what we should do about it is, stop spending so much money and stop running so much debt so that the dollar becomes a sound currency again. Unfortunately, that's not in the cards. The people in Washington want to debase the currency. They think that's good for the country. I don't, but they do. But unfortunately for us, the rest of the world doesn't think it's a good idea either, and they're starting to get worried.
But you're not worried about inflation. You're worried about hyperinflation at this point.
Well, I'm worried about inflation. Let's see if we have inflation first. If we have inflation, then we'll worry about hyperinflation.
But it's coming, you think?
I'm absolutely convinced it's coming. It always has in times like this. Maybe it's different this time, although those are very dangerous words in the economic world, as you know. I suspect we are going to have much worse inflation before this is all over.
When does it start to kick in? Because we really haven't.
Well, it's already happening, Tracy. You don't shop. Your butler does your shopping.
Yeah.
But the rest of us who go shopping know that prices are going up. Everything except
of food. You're absolutely right.
Everything.
I'm seeing it.
Everything. I mean, I took a toll in here from the airport the other day. It's $8 to come into Manhattan now on the toll. I mean, everything is going up. Taxis, insurance, entertainment, education. Tell me something that's not going up except energy prices.
The Chinese are paying for us, basically. They're paying for our lifestyle here in the United States, essentially. Are they going to continue to do this, or at what point in time do they say, I'm going to stop investing in
Let me
United
ask you
States
the
treasuries?
question. How long would you continue to lend to somebody who kept saying, don't worry, I'm going to pay you back, and everything's going to be okay, after year after year after year?
At some point in time, are we close to that, you think?
We're closer than we were, obviously,
Right.
which is not a very insightful statement. But yes, we're getting closer because they're already starting to diversify away from long-term bonds, and they're starting to buy more and more commodities with their money because they know that real assets are better than paper money.
So where will they go if they won't invest in us? There's not. I mean, option number two.
Tracy, if I were the Chinese, or even if I'm not the Chinese myself, I'd put my money into real things: nickel, zinc, cotton, sugar, coal,
You've
oil.
been buying this stuff for years, though.
I know I have, and so the Chinese are starting to do it too. The Chinese have 1.3 billion people, and they realize we got to feed all these people, and the government keeps printing money. Nobody's printing nickel, nobody's printing zinc, nobody's printing cotton, but the U.S. government keeps printing money and printing bonds.
But not gold.
I own gold, but I wouldn't buy it now. It made an all-time high today. I don't like to get on a moving bus.
Or silver, for that matter.
If I had to buy one of the two, I'd buy silver rather than gold today, just because silver is 70% below its all-time high. Gold is making an all-time high.
So you're more bullish on softer.
I know you do. I know you do.
Softer commodities.
I'd rather buy agriculture than gold's making all-time highs. I mean, most agricultural commodities are still very depressed on a historic basis.
Australia today, their central bank raising rates, the first of the G20 to do so. Is this a sign that others are going to follow suit? Or are they in a unique position because, as you mentioned, they're heavily commodity exports to China, partnering with China and things like that? It's a little bit of a different situation.
Well, they know what I know and what Tracy doesn't know because of her butler. Prices are going up, and they're trying to calm things down in Australia. Yes, they do have a better economy than we do because they have a lot of raw materials and natural resources. But prices are going up all over the world. Governments around the world are printing gigantic amounts of money. You have inflation in many parts of the world. Our government lies about it, but the rest of the world knows it's here.
So what do you think of what they're doing here? TARP, the PPIP, all these programs, a waste?
Not only is it a waste, it's leading to disaster for all of us. I mean, I cannot conceive that the solution to a problem of too much debt and too much consumption is more debt and more consumption. I mean, who thought of that? I mean, some politician trying to get reelected, not somebody worried about you or me or our kids. It's people trying to get reelected, which is going to make things much, much, much worse for us.
So what would you tell President Obama if you had his ear, aside from stop spending?
Well, I would tell him to abolish the Federal Reserve, stop taking on all the debt, get somebody else running the Treasury, change the tax system. We've got to change the tax system dramatically. We've got to stop taxing, saving, and investing in America. We've got to tax consumption. I mean, other countries that are successful do it a different way.
So you would support a consumption tax?
I would much prefer a consumption tax, at least to stop taxing, saving, and investing. Now, look, if you cut out all the spending, we wouldn't have much taxes at all, but the chances of that are
And the corporate tax rate as well should be brought down.
Well, everything should be brought down. I mean, we don't have to spend all this money. I wish somebody could tell me where the money's going. They don't even know where the money's going. But if we stop spending so much, but even if we don't do that, we've got to change the taxes so that we tax consumption and not tax savings and investment, if we're going to tax something. I'd rather cut all taxes, but certainly we have to stop taxing saving and investment.
But our deficit is so gigundo right now. There's no way they're going to cut taxes. Taxes are most likely going to increase.
We were talking about the value of the dollar and what's happening. You were asking why current countries are getting worried about the dollar. What I don't understand is why you're not worried about the dollar.
Yeah,
countries all over the world are worried. They see what's going on. America's spending gigantic amounts of money we don't have. The debt is going up by leaps and bounds, not dramatically, not rapidly. It's skyrocketing now.
Tom in North Carolina is asking about a flat tax. You like a flat tax, value-added tax?
Well, I would prefer a flat tax to what we have now, because what we have now is ludicrous. What I would prefer now is no income tax and have a consumption tax. You just abolish the income tax.
Can you have an income tax holiday, a year, even 2 years? I mean, does that make sense, at least for the time being?
You can have anything you want. I mean, this is America. You know what politicians, look at some of the...
Well, it would take them 10 years to pass legislation to have a one-year-long...
I mean, we do all sorts
holiday.
of strange and wonderful things in this country.
What do you think of China these days? Growing? Done?
Well, no, of course it's growing. It's the next great country in the world, as far as I can see. They'll have massive setbacks along the way, just as all countries do as they rise. But no, China's saved up a lot of money for a rainy day. Now it's raining. They're starting to spend some of that money.
Are you invested in China?
I do have investments in China. I own stocks there. I own the currency there.
Where are you living these days?
I live in Singapore.
Singapore, I'm looking on that on my list of best places to live. There are a lot of Nordic countries in here, like
I know. Well,
Norway, Iceland is there, although Iceland, the financial system is pretty much
the
a wreck
Scandinavian
right
countries have many things going for them. I happen to think Singapore is better, the weather if nothing else.
They also have, many of them, very high tax rates, these Scandinavian countries, by the way. They're neo-socialist countries for the love.
Well, as an American, it really doesn't matter. I have to pay American taxes wherever I live. I could live in Timbuktu, and I still have to pay American taxes, so that doesn't matter. But Singapore has many things going for them.
But China, in particular, you have investments there. China doesn't audit their financials. I mean, they call Italians crooked. They put the Chinese.
Wait a minute, Tracy, don't you watch Fox News? Have you ever heard of Madoff? Have you ever heard of Enron?
Agreed.
Have you ever heard of,
but
where have you been?
But isn't China on
you
a
gotta
much
start
larger scale?
Watch Fox Business.
China does it on a much larger scale, though. We have the government controlling financial statements over there. Here we just
they have auditors. They have independent auditors. Whether they're good or not, I don't know. Any more than the same companies we have.
You believe the numbers we hear out of China?
I don't believe the numbers we hear out of anywhere. America. Anywhere. You believe the government numbers?
No, I don't believe.
Only Tracy believes the inflation numbers.
Tracy's an accountant.
Nobody else believes the inflation numbers except Tracy.
So then, how do you invest in a country you don't believe anything you hear out of?
Well, I always have to do my homework. Look, when I invest in the United States.
But that's what I mean. If China, of all countries. There's no, at least here in the States, we have some semblance of solid information we could gather.
I'm happy to hear it. I'm speechless and dumbfounded that you just accept what everybody tells you.
No,
well, I wish I'd known you 20 years
saying.
ago when you weren't married. My God, where have you been all my life?
I'm saying China, I think, takes it to the utter extreme as far as just making stuff up as they go along.
You have to, well, everybody does. You have to sit and do your homework if you're going to be an investor. And by the way, the best way to invest in China is to invest perhaps because of what you say, or at least your worries, is to buy commodities. Because they have to buy nickel. They have to buy cotton. If you have nickel, they will take you to dinner. They will pay for dinner. They will pay you on time. They have to buy cotton. If you're worried about corporate governance, you can buy other things and not buy the shares. But look, in America, you know Mr. Madoff? The SEC went to see Mr. Madoff 6 times in 12 years. So don't speak to me about government
And even he was
regulation.
shocked. Even he was shocked that they did not
How bad it
catch
was.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
with you. I'm
They
with you.
even put down in writing, the SEC, that we know more about Mr. Madoff than anybody in the world. How could they be so absurd as to think
I
we
know.
did something wrong? They put it in writing.
Jim, you're the best. Good to see you.
You are the best.
Thanks.
Jim co-founded the Quantum Fund with George Soros moons and moons ago, and I really do hope that there are cookies waiting for you, because it was an
I do
honor
too.
to have you here.
I am flattered and delighted. Thank you.
Have a
Thanks,
safe
Jim. Good to
trip
see you.
back home.